This is WPSL Port St. Lucie.
The views expressed of the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL. However, we encourage you to like and share them on Facebook. Howard Insurance in Port St. Lucie now presents The African American Scene every Wednesday night at this time, hosted by Rudy Howard.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Always glad to be with you here on a Wednesday night. I have to tell you, we're going to have an open mic night tonight. Last week I had a guest, and Steve sent me another letter, Cliff.
Really?
He was at my office. I get out of the car to open up the front door, and he walks up and he gives me the envelope. I said, "Oh,
Yeah, it's
it's
kind of spooky and scary.
another letter."
It's creepy. Huh?
Yeah.
I'd be nervous. Wow.
Yeah, well, but he's still. I guess he's trying his best to convert me. I don't know what he's not doing a very good job, but he's trying his best to convert me.
What's he trying to convert you into?
I don't know. I think I think he thinks that he can make me a conservative.
Oh! I thought he was going to try to change you into a white guy or something. You know?
That would be a masterful stroke.
Well, you know what? I'll bet you he'll love your subject tonight.
Oh man, I know. And listen, we're going to have basically two topics, and I'm opening it up so that if you want to call and talk about something else, I'll be more than happy to do so. But my African American topic for tonight is the one that gives a lot of white guys agita. They get really, really, really angry about it, and that's white privilege. Oh, guys get so angry about that. They go, no,
Fighting for the phone. He's dropping the phone, trying to pick it up to dial in.
Oh, they get so mad about saying they have white privilege. They just think that's just absolutely nuts.
They don't see it because, when you are white privileged, you don't know it. It's like when you're dead, you don't know it. Like when you're stupid, you don't know it.
Oh,
and
it's just there.
Yeah,
it happens.
It's something that you can't observe yourself if you're a white guy, but black folks can see this. This is something they can see that you can't.
Yes, okay. And I hope when I give you a little historical perspective on it, that you can get it. Then the other subject is one near and dear to my heart, which is, can we please tell the truth about immigration? I wish we could tell the truth, because all of this malarkey and baloney that President Trump's smoke blowing at us, lying a million miles an hour about immigration. And some of you out there are buying it lock, stock, and barrel. I don't know why, but he's lying. And listen, let me tell you something else, too, because I was having a discussion about this with somebody the other day. All politicians bend the truth and stretch information to a certain degree. This is the first president in my lifetime that the news media just calls out and says he's a liar. I've never seen that before, because you know what? There's no other way to put it. He just tells lie after lie after. He lies like people breathe, and it's just unbelievable. And I God knows everybody has their right to free choice of who they want to represent him, but I don't know how you can follow this guy the way he tells lies, but that's beyond the point. But anyway, let's talk about white privilege. Let's talk about where did all of this come from? How did it start? Well, my friends, the white privilege started on the plantation. Slaves were property. Okay? If you didn't know that, slaves were property. They were not individuals with free will. They weren't even allowed to get married unless the master said it was okay to do so.
Ooh.
The slave women belonged to the master. Okay? So if you ever see 12 years a slave, no, that's not the one. This is the one with Forrest Whitaker. When the slave owner comes out into the field and takes his father's wife, and he objects, and the man kills him. So the slave master basically could take your wife, take your daughter, and there would be nothing you could do about it. Now, here's something that you're going to find a little upsetting. Many of the founding fathers and slave owners were pedophiles. Did you hear that?
Ooh, I heard that. Hey, did you hear that?
Many of the founding fathers and slave owners were pedophiles.
That's a shocking revelation.
Thomas Jefferson famously had Sally Hemings, who was 14 years old at the time he took her, and he was 44. So think about that for a second. Now, you're going to tell me it was a different day and time. Okay. But does that still make it okay if you're 44 and you take a 14-year-old?
Only if you're the 44-year-old.
Yeah.
Not if you're the 14-year-old.
Yeah. Now, that was pretty commonplace that slave owners took the women that were on their plantations. Sometimes the women would kill themselves rather than to continue to allow the slave master to have their way with them. Now, here's where some of the white privilege begins to spill over. If the woman was to bear a child for the slave owner, most often that child, who would be of fair complexion, would become a person of the house. So you had house black people and you had field black people. Most of the house black people were offspring of the slave master or the slave master's kids or thereabouts. So now think about the dynamics of that. Early in the history of this country, you set a dynamic up where you pit black people against each other, because now you got the guy that's in the house who's light skinned, and then the guy that's in the field doing the labor. So you start that at that point in time where there's a natural resentment for the guy that's in the house versus the guy that's out in the field. Now, think about that. Just think about that. If you're out in the field all day and you know there's somebody else that's in the house and they're there because they're light skinned and you're out in the field and you're dark skinned. How you think that went over? I bet you that didn't go over. I can tell you already, that did not go over well. But that's absolutely true. I would tell you this. Until the last 10 years, the most prominent actresses in Hollywood and successful were light-skinned. In the last 10 years, though, there has been a change. I think one of the first prominent actresses that was not fitting in that category, I guess you'd have to say, was Whoopi Goldberg. You had Butterfly McQueen in Gone with the Wind, but that was just, she was in a very specialized role. But for the most part, if you go back and look, and if you look at all the advertisements for beauty supplies and face makeup and all of that, it was typically a light-skinned black person. Dark-skinned women just did not get that work. Okay, are you starting to see where the white privilege come from? Am I painting a picture for you? Are you starting to get it? It has nothing to do with you having an extraordinarily easy life and me having a tough life. It has to do with the fact that there's certain advantages that accrued to you that weren't available to regular black folks.
Do I detect a little sweat breaking out on someone's forehead out there listening?
I'm sure. Now, one of the fantastical things about Black Panther, which I'm sure many of you didn't even understand, was that in Black Panther, you had all these dark-skinned black women who were strong and heroic playing in a major movie. That was why. Now, some of you are going to go, wow, okay, I didn't even think about that. Well, you go back and you look at it again and you think about it. And you look at those fight scenes and you saw those strong, dark-skinned black women, some of whom's head was shaved, holding spears. That was a different persona presented for dark-skinned women. Now, I'm giving you a lot to think about, aren't I?
Well, if you overload them and then they call, they're going to explode. So we need them to just calm down just a little bit and go ahead and call the show and comment on it, because see if we get to the bottom of this by talking,
Yeah.
we can break the ice of this.
Yeah. And that phone number is 340-1590. That's 340-1590. Now, here's another little tidbit information for you. And some of my black friends may not be very happy with me sharing this information, but it's true, and you need to know about it. There have been black people in the past who passed for white if they were light enough. And they did so in order to gain an advantage in society. Are you hearing me now?
Because it worked.
Yes, it did work. It did work.
Now, wait a minute. Now there's another part of this equation that we can put in there. I hear that the light-skinned black people kind of discriminate against the darker-skinned black people. Is that true?
That's very true. I was going there.
Okay.
I was going there. Yes. So what you had was, and my mother, when she was with the Philadelphia Inquirer, she worked with a lady who was like that. The people at the Inquirer thought for years she was white, but she wasn't. She was black. And my mother was one of the first black ladies that had been hired at the Philadelphia Inquirer. And my mother didn't know for the longest time that she was black.
Oh, my.
Yeah. So, but she told my mother, well, they said something one day in front of her, and my mom said she just absolutely exploded. And then everybody looked, because they never knew that she was black. And Winnie, you on line one. How are you?
How you doing? Pretty good. Now, you tell the truth about all that. I know Michael X, one of his speech, he was saying something like that. They had feel, black folk. He didn't say black folks, say is.
I know what you said.
Had white, had a light skin, is in the house, like you said.
Yep.
He said that was his speech. I talk about dark skin and light skin all the time about my brother. He gets so upset with me. Why you like that? Why you always talk about light skin? I said, that's how we are. That's how we are now today, because it really has something to do with the slave master, like Sally Hemings and Thomas Jefferson.
Yes.
It really comes from that. Why we got all kind of different colors.
Well, here's the thing, and you hit the nail on the head. You surprised me. You're up on this stuff, Winnie. The thing is that you had the people in the house, and they looked down on the people in the field, which is part of what Cliff was saying. So you had the light-skinned house Negroes that looked down on the Negroes that was out in the field. Yeah, so but hey, that's part of it.
I live in Port St. Lucie. I go to Rochester store, buy my beer or whatever, and then and some white fellas they go try to ask me out for a date. I say that I say, well, sometimes you get I ain't being fun. Sometimes you get a notice for a little bit.
Yeah.
You know how that goes.
Yeah.
Get a little notice a little bit. I said, what about if I was dark skin complexion? But things change. But really, get a little notice a little bit in white race of people.
Yeah.
I'm putting out there, and the truth is the truth. People get mad with me because I'm telling them, but that's how it is with their people itself. The truth is the truth. That's what it is. Anyway, I'm listening to the rest of your show, but I allow interested to it because I'm all for it. And people really get mad at me. All you do is talk about stuff like light skin and dark skin, but that really ain't happened. It really exists now today.
Yeah.
It ain't going nowhere. I'll be listening to the rest of your show. Y'all have a good night.
Okay, thank you, Winnie. Thank you for calling. Faithful listener. Now, let me tell you about like I said, about black people that passed. Now, I saw a show with Megyn Kelly recently, and she had this lady on, and if you look on YouTube, you can find it. She found out, and it looks like a complete, pure white lady, that her mother was black. And her mother had hid it. And she did the research. She thought some of her mother's behavior was strange because her mother would go out in the summertime and she would always be covered. She didn't want to get the sun to get on her. And so she had gotten these little hints and thought they were strange. And so she goes back and she does research, and she finds the original birth certificate, and on it says colored. And she goes back to tell her mother, and her mother makes her swear. Folks, now I want you to hear this very clearly, because this is why there is white privilege. She made her daughter swear she would not tell a soul until she was dead. And she said, well, Mama, why? She said, you would ruin my life if you told anybody that I was black.
Would that have cost her job back then?
Maybe. Probably would have cost her social circle and her friends.
Oh, yeah. That's the worst part.
Yeah.
Women
right.
love their friends, and they have to have their support.
So can you imagine?
That circle, yeah.
And I saw the picture of her mother. Her mother just looked like a olive-colored black lady with straight black hair. Like, there's many of us that have that kind of hair. Now, to educate yourself about this, there's a book that I read called Life on the Color Line by Gregory Howard Williams. He's a professor in Ohio now. And he was raised up by his father, who was very light and had passed for white for many, many years, and they hit some hard times, and he had to go back home. And when he went back to where his father was from, what a heck of an eye-opening experience he had, because he saw all these brown people that looked like me, which were all his cousins and in-laws, and so, and it's in the book. Now, he's married now, and he married a white lady, and he's got 2 or 3 kids. But there's a picture in the book of him with his family, and there he stands with all of his brown family by himself. But he's now a college professor. So his dad did that in order to give him a better life. There's also another very famous movie that you can look it up, and I'm sure you can find it. It's called Imitation of Life. And the star is Lana Turner. And it's a real tearjerker because Lana Turner takes in this woman and her daughter is really very fair, like I was just talking about. And her daughter tries to disown her mother because she didn't want anybody to know she was black.
Just the opposite of that other mom and daughter you spoke of. Yeah,
exactly. So interesting. So interesting. Now, look at that movie, read that book, and reading the book will really be eye-popping to you because it really makes it very clear what his life was like before when he thought he was white and what his life was like after he found out that he was black. Because he didn't know that he was black initially because his father just kept that from him. But that will give you a good handle on the difference. And again, I'm going to give you the name of that book, Life on the Color Line with Gregory Howard Williams. And it's not a long read. I think it's probably a little less than 300 pages. Now, here's another thing. And I'm not very proud to say this, but again, it's the truth. Black people have been known to be prejudiced against dark-skinned black people, which is what Cliff said. It's true.
I didn't know it was true. I'd heard it.
It's true, man. It's absolutely true.
I've learned a lot from this show, and so have other people that might not want to admit it. They learned too.
Yes. Cliff, it's true.
Okay.
I did, and I will tell you that when I was growing up, and I'm more of a brown. My mother's mother would implore my mother not to let me stay out in the sun all day in the summertime.
Now that raises another question. Do black people get sunburns?
Yes, they can. Yes.
Okay, because I've never seen it.
I can get it if I go play golf and I don't have a hat on.
Okay.
My nose will burn. Now the rest of me is never burned, but my nose is actually burned.
Okay.
But my grandmother would tell my mother, please don't let him in. My sister's probably listening to this laughing because she'll remember this. My sister's a little lighter than I am. But
she'll remind you of your sunburn.
Yeah, but my grandmother, please don't let him stay out in the sun all day. Now, and now my grandmother was fairly fair. So why am I telling you all of this?
Well, she's fairly fair and knows that you're probably kind of like her, and she didn't want you to go through the stigmatism.
Yes, she didn't want me to be too dark because she felt that being really dark would have disparate treatment for me. And she loved me to death. I was one of her favorite kids, and she just didn't want me to be that dark. But now think about that for a second now. When you got your grandmother telling you she don't want you to be in the sun because she is fearful that being that dark will cause you some discomfort.
I often trust the opinions of grandparents because they've been around for a while and they know things.
Oh, yeah. She wasn't making that up.
No.
In her mind, that was like, if my grandson is just too dark, he's liable to have a very difficult time. So, but, now I got some friends probably listening. They're not real happy about me saying that. But listen, you know what? If we're going to tell them that they have white privilege, they need to get the full picture of why we can say that with authority. And we can say it with authority. Now, if everything that I've said to you doesn't convince you, just think about this. When Jackie Robinson integrated baseball, and this is a very common piece of information you can find out, Jackie was not even close to being the best baseball player in the Negro Leagues. Ask anybody. Greg probably knows this himself because he had the connection back there, and I wish Greg was around because he would tell you that what I'm saying is absolutely true. Jackie wasn't even close to being the best baseball player in the Negro Leagues.
Does a fan base really have that much clout when it comes to determining somebody being really good at baseball playing? I mean,
no, but what happened is before Jackie, there was no blacks allowed in the professional baseball. So what I'm trying to say is all those guys that played didn't have the competition of the black guys who also could play and compete for those positions. So the black guys were shut out. They were not allowed to compete for those positions. Now, that's a fact. Now, I'm not making that up. And I could tell you, if Greg was here or if Greg calls, he will tell you that what I'm telling you is absolutely true.
No rebuttal on the phone either.
Yeah. Jackie was not the best player in the Negro Leagues.
I didn't know that.
Oh, he wasn't. He wasn't.
Every time somebody says Jackie Robinson to me, I picture him swinging a grand slam or something. You know?
No, he wasn't.
Wow.
No. There was a guy in the Negro Leagues who they say would have given Babe Ruth a run for his money, named Josh Gibson. Okay. And Josh never got a chance to play in the major leagues, but he was a big bopper. Now
Jackie Robinson became a legend.
Absolutely
a legend. That's legend status. Yeah.
Well, and let me tell you what they did. And you know what? Let's give Branch Rickey some credit, and I do give him a lot of credit because he did it to make money, but he also picked the right guy. Jackie had gone to UCLA. He was a college graduate, had been I think he played football, track, and baseball. I'm pretty sure he did. I know he did track. And so Branch Rickey picked Jackie because he felt Jackie had the right temperament and that because of his education, he would comport himself correctly in the public. So those were the issues that were important, he thought, in order to break this color barrier. So again, that phone number is 340-1590. That's 340-1590. So now, and then finally, what I want you to understand, white privilege is not your fault. I'm not blaming that on you. I'm not saying that you have to do anything in particular, but accept the fact that you've had it. You've had that privilege bestowed upon you through no fault of your own, And it just makes no sense for you to deny it because it is what it is. It's real. And I have just took the time to explain all of that to you so that you could understand what white privilege actually is. And we got Jay on line one. Hey, Jay.
How you doing, Rudy?
Okay.
I got quite a few experiences with that, with the color thing, and it just, I just had like flashbacks as you're talking. But the thing, the invitation of life that the maid was Hattie McDaniel.
Oh, that was Hattie. Okay.
Yeah, she was pretty famous back in those days.
Yes.
Playing a lot of movies and stuff like.
Yeah.
And she retired as a very wealthy lady.
Yeah.
When she retired from playing in the movies, but that's who was in that. But to get back to Jackie Robinson, I don't know if you know the other part of his people. He was arrested for not, he was sitting in the front of the bus, and he was a officer. He wasn't a enlisted man. He had became a commissioned officer in the army.
Yes.
And he was he refused to get up. He said, "Come on, I'm here, fighting for the United States Army, and you could talk about getting in the back of the bus. I'm in uniform and everything. So there was a big thing like that, and they they tried to arrest him and all of that, and he went through a lot. But he was just that he stood his ground. One of the experiences, it was kind of funny, but it was sad too. I was in Savannah, Georgia, in the '50s, and a close neighbor of mine, a guy, we grew up together. His sister was very light; she could pass away. We were on the bus, and she's sitting in the back because she's black. She knows she's black, but her mother and father black. But she's very light. And the bus driver stopped the bus, say, "Hey, you got to get up. You have to come up front. You don't sit back there with the rest of the Negroes. You sit up front here." And she panicked. She said, "But I'm black. I'm a Negro. I'm black." And we started laughing and stuff. But it wasn't funny. But then he just kept on looking, and he had to stop the bus, and then he looked up again, hesitated, then he just kept, and then he pulled the bus off and kept on going. But she just, insisted on staying back there in the back with the rest of us because what am I going to be doing sitting up front, imitating, like I'm somebody else when I know who I am. But that was bad. And every time I go down there, I always bring it up to her, even though that was way back when. And when I'm visiting down in Savannah, I bring it, and she starts laughing about it.
Yeah.
I said, "Do you ever tell your grandkids about it?" She said, "No, I never told." I said, "Tell them, let them know what happened back, when you were coming up." What was going on, and when you had to ride the back of the bus and all that stuff, and couldn't go in certain places and move. We had, but the sad thing about all of that, everything you say is true, is that when I go to Savannah, there was a street there called West Broad. Now it's Martin Luther King Boulevard. There used to be nothing but black-owned businesses on West Broad. Grocery stores, barbershop, theaters, everything you could think of. They were self-sufficient. They didn't have to worry about going downtown because they weren't allowed to. So. And when after the civil rights movement, all of that ended, they started patronizing the nickel and dime store where they couldn't go into, and all the other places downtown. If you ever go to Savannah, it's more like a tourist thing now. But that's what's happening there. It just I go back and when I go on Martin Luther King Boulevard, they changed the name, which was great. But then the boulevard. All the businesses lost. They just dried up because they started patronizing the people that hated them.
Listen, let me tell you something.
Yeah.
You don't have to go that far. Several years ago, I guess probably 8 to 10 years ago, I met the gentleman that owns Williams Mart up there in Fort Pierce.
Mm-hmm.
Williams Mart, he had a big, giant, multifaceted store when people couldn't cross US 1. And he listens to opera.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in there, and he's telling me about how things used to be, how he would sell all his suits and clothes and things for everybody, and he would have an account for him. And he's now, I don't even know if he's still there anymore. I've lost track of him. But he had a little storefront, small shop right up there in Fort Pierce. But he was one time had a big, thriving, big old multifaceted store.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there was a lot of that happened. That was one of the things that I don't think we really understood would happen when there was integration.
No,
I didn't.
It was just very sad. And even like when you talk about Jackie Robinson and the Negro League, that was another thing. They brought out a lot of, they used to spend, money amongst black with the restaurants, the hotels, wherever they played, whatever city they went in. It was always, just like that movie they made, The Green Book. A lot of people just, they just figured that out. They didn't know what The Green Book was until they saw this movie. But I've been knowing about it since I was a kid because I'd seen the Green Book. When you're traveling, they have certain places where you can go eat and, motels and stuff on your travel, especially for, going south. But they had the Green Book cover the United States. And it was just amazing, some of the things that folks we had to navigate through. And I forgot, when I was a teenager and I went down by myself to Savannah, and I got off the train and I was hungry and I had to wait for the bus to go where I had to go. So I went in this little hamburger joint, forgetting I'm not in Brooklyn anymore. And the guy cursed me out. I could have been in Emmett Till.
Yeah.
I could have wound up being like the same situation because that's how nasty and how, they had the right. He had the right to do whatever he wanted to me, and he just cursed me out, called me everything else, and told me, get out of there. Go where the ends are. And so when I got to my grandfather's house, I told him, he said, boy, you better wake up. You're in the South. You're not back in Brooklyn anymore. Anyway, Rudy, that's about my story. I'm not going to take a look at your time. I just was listening and kind of had a little flashback.
Hey,
Okay, Jay, thank you.
Wow.
Thank you for being a listener. Yeah. That's, I can relate.
I'll bet you there are a lot of stories like that.
Oh, yeah.
Story after story after story.
I never saw the black fountain and the white fountain, but my wife grew up in Raleigh, and she's always telling me about how it was in Raleigh when she was a kid. And she remembers very clearly the black fountain and the white fountain. And the place where those kids were sitting at that counter, that happened down in Greensboro, where she went to college at North Carolina A&T. So she's got vivid memories of that. I, like Jay could probably say the same thing. Being grown up in the North, they used to try to give us the illusion sometime that we were equal and that there was no discrimination, but it was an illusion because there was things that you just couldn't do and places you couldn't go. But it wasn't as overt as it was in the South. Now let's get to my last topic for tonight, and let's see if we can have some honesty here. Could you please tell me the truth about immigration? We're going to take a little break, and I'm going to let you think about that. Please tell me the truth about immigration. Why are you so opposed to people coming to our country? And that phone number again is 340-1590. That's 340-1590.
Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. You are listening to The African American Scene with Rudy Howard.
Serving the entire Treasure Coast, Howard Insurance and Associates in Port St. Lucie offers a wide variety of insurance products, along with the very best customer service. Whether you're shopping for the best homeowners coverage at the most affordable value, contact Rudy Howard's team at Howard Insurance and Associates. If you need coverage for your vehicle, call Howard Insurance and Associates, 343-9878. That's 343-9878. Maybe you're planning to add a boat, motorcycle, or RV. Call Howard Insurance and Associates for your free quote at 343-9878 and get the coverage you need at a cost that will fit your budget. For home or business, auto or recreational vehicle, choose Howard Insurance and Associates, 600 Southwest Darwin Boulevard, Suite 206, Port St. Lucie. And for your free rate quote, call them at 343-9878, 343-9878. WPSL Treasure Coast Weather is brought to you this hour by Seacoast Air Conditioning. Call Seacoast Air Conditioning, 466-2400.
Good day, everyone. Storm Team 5 meteorologist Steve Villanueva. It is certainly damp outside, and we will continue to see rain showers right on through the evening hours. Then overnight tonight, the skies start to clear as the rain pulls out of here, but it will be a chilly night. Temperatures most in the 50s, but some of you will be dropping down into the 40s. Tomorrow looks like a beautiful day on your Valentine's Day. We'll see a mix of sun and clouds. Temperatures heading into the middle 70s, but it does stay breezy with winds up to 20 miles an hour. I'm WPTV Storm Team 5 meteorologist Steve Villanueva for WPSL 1590, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
At Seacoast Air Conditioning, they believe in 3 basic fundamentals. Answer the phone, show up on time, and fix the problem right the first time. Seacoast Air, family owned and operated since 1982, waiting to answer your call 24/7.
Comfort crisis, don't roast. Call Seacoast.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
Effect.
And now back to the African American scene. Once again, here's your host, Rudy Howard.
Listen, okay, now I need some honesty here because you know what? I won't criticize you if you're honest. I just think your behavior up to this point has been so dishonest. The fact of the matter is, and I'm going to say it, and Steve likes to get on me about saying it, your real concern is the browning of America. But you can't stop that. That's going to happen.
What do you think happens when you put a melting pot into operation? Everything blends in, and that's where we're going in more ways than one. I think we're going towards a total browning of the earth eventually.
Well, I think so too. Yeah. I do. I think the earth will be of color eventually. You're right.
Oh yeah.
But you know what? I think part of what makes people concerned, and probably rightfully so, is they think about some of the things that were done to brown folks in the past and concerned, well, if they take over, will they do that to me? No, they won't. And the thing is, first off, you have to understand that, and I've said this before, and I don't know if you really get it. For most of us, and I'm going to speak for black folks, and I'm going to also speak for Indians, we're Americans. Damn it, we're Americans. We love this country. It's the only thing I know. I don't know nothing else. I can't trace any family member outside of the United States of America. This is my home. I would fight and die to protect this country. But I'm going to criticize her when I think she's wrong. And I will do it every time. And that's my right as a person who lives here and who believes this country, that when she's wrong, I'm going to tell her she's wrong. Just like with Colin Kaepernick, he has expressed a right to feel that the disparate treatment of some people is wrong. Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But you have to accept the fact that it's going to happen. And it's nothing for you to get excited about, because you know what? If you go out, I challenged some of you toward the end of last year. Have you gone out and had dinner with somebody who's not like you? I asked each one of you for once a quarter. We're getting ready to come to the close of a quarter. Have you taken the time to go to lunch or dinner with somebody who's not like you? How many of you done that out there?
I'd go a step further with that. Have you ever tried soul food, and would you like to know why it's called soul food? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, go give it a rip.
Oh, yeah. By all means. You'll learn why.
Yeah.
And
well,
you'll like it. You'll want more. Yeah.
Yeah. But listen, if you've done what I suggested, that number's 340-1590. And if you haven't, try it. Just go with somebody, take somebody, go out to dinner with somebody. You can go with another couple and sit and break bread and talk, and you'll be so surprised. You'll be so shocked. They want all the same things in life you want.
All made out of the same stuff we're all made out of.
Yeah.
There's nothing different between
there's
the DNA
nothing,
molecular structure of our bodies between the different colored folks.
We just have different color melanin.
Yeah.
We have melanin and you don't. I
If-
mean, that's it. But I mean, when you talk about what we want, how we want to live, we want to live in a safe neighborhood. We don't want people knocking us upside the head when we're going to get in our car. We want our kids to have a good education. We want our children to have a safe environment. We want to live in a nice home and drive a nice car. We want all the same things you want. There is no reason at all to be concerned because we have so many more things in common than you could possibly imagine, but you just have to get to know somebody who is different than you so you can find all of that out for yourself. Yeah. I gave you that challenge, and I guess nobody's calling, so they have not accepted my challenge. You got about another month to make it happen.
Well, some of them need to overcome the racist indoctrination that they've been under their whole lives.
Yes, because you know, part of I said this to someone, and not too long ago, maybe a couple of years ago. I said, here's the difference between you and me. I had to work in environments where I was one or a very few of black people that worked in that environment, and you've never had to do that. So I've had to learn far more about you than you've had to learn about me, and I had to do that in order to be survive and be successful. So it's something I had to do, and it's something I'm asking for you to do. So, but yes, it is. Do we have a caller?
No, that was for administration staff.
Oh, okay.
Probably to complain about the show.
Yeah, probably.
Probably someone with white privilege.
Yeah.
Want to try to invoke it or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just guess.
So yeah. So anyway, what you should do is I've asked you to do that. I think you should do that. Is spend some time, somebody different than you, because I think the value of that information will not get lost on you, because you'll learn something that will be very important to you. So, but in any event, and so it looks like we're going to avoid a shutdown. It looks that way. I'm hoping we do, but looks like we're going to avoid the shutdown. President Trump's going to sign the bill that is before him.
Was there a compromise of some sort?
Yeah, I think
There's nothing wrong with compromise. That's what talking does.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing here. We're providing some conversation that can help us all overcome this thing we've been under all these years.
Yeah, I think what they did is they came up with something that they think will work, which is good. I don't think we should shut down the government again. But I am in favor. Somebody said this, and I'm in favor of this, that they should pass legislation that if they ever shut down the government again, all of the congressional paychecks get suspended too.
Absolutely. Amen, brother Rudy.
All those paychecks get stopped too, so nobody gets pay. If the workers don't get pay.
From the top level down,
Yep.
not from the bottom level up.
Yep.
Because that doesn't work. We know that.
Well, yeah. Well, then that's indicative of what the problem is now. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
It's always the burden to be borne by the people in the middle and on the bottom rung. So, but I do think I see changes coming. I really do.
Yes.
Yeah, there's going to be some changes because, well, first off, the one thing that gives me hope is even the rich people are beginning to realize this inequity is way out of balance, and something has to be done to bring it back into balance. Now, there's those, and I can think of one person who might be listening who believes that you shouldn't do anything because the market will take care of itself. It's not. We already see that. The market's not going to take care of itself. There has to be some adjustment made for the rest of society. And I would tell you the number one thing, in my opinion, you have to strengthen the unions again and allow people freely to join unions, because the conservatives were very effective in shutting down the unions, but what you did is you got rid of the voice that the common man had, and you kept all the lobbyists, but there's no voice for the middle American guy that's working in the production line with the auto dealer or putting together parts that they put on a car. That guy's got no representation hardly now. A lot of those jobs have gone away, and they've killed some of the representation for some of the government workers. So you've got to put that back in place. And I think what you're seeing now also is a revolution of the teachers. The teachers been getting screwed for a long time, and they're fighting back all over the country. They're starting to strike because in the past, anytime there was a budget shortfall, one of the first people that was getting to bear the brunt was the teacher. Wow. So thank God we are starting to turn that around.
There's one other big thing that's in motion now that we got to keep an eye on because it'll bring some changes, and that is, are you ready? The force of women in Congress.
Oh my God, yes.
That's a whole other show.
yes. But I'd like to say thank you so much for listening to the African American Scene. God bless and be safe. And I will see you right here next Wednesday for the African American Scene.
By the way, soul food makes you feel good. And this, by the way, just so happens to be WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast. Rudy Howard's African American Scene has archives of this show, video archives, on YouTube. Go to YouTube, look for WPSL TV, or go to WPSLTV.com and look for the African American Scene. This is WPSL Port St. Lucie.